Hey everybody, this is Ready State Loop, and I'm Justin.
And I'm Eric. And today we're here to talk about some stuff that Phil Spencer said recently.
Oh, some real sensitive stuff.
Real sensitive stuff. Pushing some buttons, I think. There's a lot of marketing beef going on right now uh, in the industry. Sony and Microsoft are doing a lot of positioning. Sony in particular have been using the tagline, play has no limits. And Microsoft seems to be going about this approach with a kind of player-centered approach, where they keep focusing on doing everything for the player rather than specifically the console, and that is their take on it.
At least that's what it seems.
It is.
Um, the whole thing is like Sony's direction is future, right? This is our design. This is our messaging. It's all about move to the next console, and we'll give you the future of game. Whereas Microsoft has taken this, as Eric said, the player centric, and actually as Phil Spencer states it, the center, like we're focusing around the player and not around the console. Um, and that marketing strategy seems to be trying to loop in the broader Xbox Microsoft platform. That's the Xbox One series, the Xbox series, and PC gamers. They're doing it with their smart delivery system and their backwards compatibility, supporting Xbox going all the way back to original titles. And so they kind of put Sony on the defensive a bit by having this like talking point. I think they know Sony can't defend. They do not have a PC user base. They don't have this cross compatible thing going on, and they also, to our knowledge, don't have a backwards compatibility method that supports everything going back to PS1. So Phil Spencer's got him on the back foot, and then they start this beef. So why, I guess, is this marketing point so important to Microsoft?
I should preface this and say that this is speculation on my behalf. It's hard to sometimes it's really hard to peel apart marketing terminology and language and see behind, like, kind of peek behind the curtain. But I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat and describe what I see as a possibility here as to what's going on. And I think it may be that Microsoft with this is making a play at expanding their revenues with in the Windows game sales marketplace. There's Steam and Epic Games Store more recently are the incumbents. Microsoft has its own store or stores. They're not making all that much money, but with this approach, if they make it so that, yeah, you could buy a game on Steam or you could buy it on the Microsoft store, and if you do, you also get to play it on any Xbox console that you buy or have previously purchased since the Xbox One. That sounds like a pretty sweet deal, and it's a definite bonus that neither Sony nor Epic nor Valve could match. That's definitely something uniquely Microsoft, and I feel like that would be a way for them to expand their offering, and bring them a whole new, kind of open up their revenue stream dramatically, while also giving this promise of allowing the player to play anywhere.
Yeah, I should say this is speculative. We don't actually know how Microsoft is going to actually handle the smart delivery system. Is it digital only? Does it allow physical media? Will it work with other game platforms? But I think the broader point is that there's, from some estimates, about 20 million PC gamers and all the Xbox One owners that they need to entice to their platform, and they have this leg up. So then Spencer gets into making his statement that I think has everybody buzzing, because it's like, ooh, Sony zinger. And he starts making some pretty contentious statements. So I think we can break this down a couple of points, and then we can break down what he might actually be saying and why they're so contentious.
Yeah.
So I think the first one is he states during this interview with Game Industry Up is that in it he states, It's almost certain if the developer is building a Windows version of their game, then the most powerful and highest fidelity version is the PC version. You can even see that with some of our first-party console games coming to PC, even from our competitors, that the richest version is the PC version.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's a bit of an asterisk there. The richest possible version is the one available on the PC. The barrier to entry to hit that tier of gameplay or of fidelity is very high. So while it might actually be, of course, the highest fidelity experience when we're talking frame rate and resolution, at least, the question then becomes how many people actually get to experience it that way, right? With a price point that high and hardware limited, the question is how, what do the more kind of average PC users actually get to experience? How does that compare with a console?
Right, and how many people are cashing in on the high spec graphics card, or running them in parallel, or all that stuff?
That brings us to another statement that Spencer makes in this interview that could be a little bit contentious. We certainly read it as such. And that is that we should applaud load times and fidelity of scenes and frame rate and input latency and all of these things that we focused on with the next generation. But that should not exclude people from being able to play. That's our point. I mean, this kind of insinuates that the only next-gen game value is graphic fidelity, right? That's where the focus is going to be. At the same time, he's saying, on the one hand, he's saying we should applaud all of these things, but they should not be a trigger for excluding other people.
We covered this kind of in our last video when we were taking a look at the Lockhart.
Yep.
And it's not like next gen is only pushing graphic fidelity. There are things that are unlocked, and he actually makes mention of these things. It's like we have the SSD, and it's not just load times. It can impact a lot of things that have strong design implications. Controller feedback, the haptic feedback that the PS5 has, and whatever is packed inside the Xbox controller. 3D audio being like a given, it being Atmos or the proprietary 3D system, Tempest system that the PlayStation 5 has, and ray tracing. Like all these things can have significant design implications that you will be working with. And if you're a clever designer, you may be working on games that exclusively need to use those features in order to pull out the most advanced game design. Basically, what Sony showed with Ratchet and Clank fundamentally cannot be done in the same way on another console. And so if you're targeting Xbox One, PS4, as well as PS5, Series X, you can't design a game like Ratchet and Clank. It'll be design prohibitive.
I mean, I think it's also important to mention that even first-party games, as long as they have to support a minimum spec, are going to be design constrained by that minimum spec. You might have a game that you're designing, like maybe Halo Infinite, let's say, and there might be interesting things that you could do with that title with an extremely fast SSD. But if your minimum target is a console that does not have, or a platform that does not have a guaranteed SSD, you can't rely on that, and therefore you can't build it into the game design itself, which that is a concerning thing. I think that's a lot of what people are trying to are seeing being kind of hand waved away by Spencer's arguments here, and I think that's the biggest. That's really the heart of the concern that people have, on what is being described here. Are they, by going down this road of all of our first-party titles will support everything Xbox One and up, constraining themselves so that we really won't see interesting new experiences in this generation, or at least not for another few years.
Yeah, and I suspect Spencer knows that, but he has to toe the marketing line. He has to like yammer on about and really drill into, here is why we provide a better value to our gaming, our gaming install base on the Xbox, and potentially those PC gamers, if not, PS4 gamers that are looking to maybe, switch over and jump onto the Microsoft train.
Yep. Choo choo.
Cool.
Woo-woo!
Yeah. So Spencer makes one other point that I think also needs to be picked apart, because I think this is where people really kind of start needling. And he states, I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about.
Right, which, let's be clear, it's a fairly hypocritical statement. Console manufacturers invest a lot of money in purchasing or building first-party studios, because those studios will make games targeting that platform, and will only be available on that platform. That's part of what first-party games sell consoles. They could very more easily now, given that the PS4 and the Xbox One X and that Xbox One series of consoles kind of share quite a bit in their architecture, and now especially with the PS5 and the Series X, you could very easily, relatively speaking, port your first party games to work on your competitor's console. But they're just not going to do that.
I think the broader point of their marketing is really, and the doublespeak comes from them stating, we shouldn't be locking people to a specific console when we want them to buy it, et cetera, et cetera. But their strategy isn't so that they can put it on whatever platform makes most sense. It's whatever platform they have. So it's, it's the Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PC, like that's the platforms they want to support. They want to make it easier for people within those ecosystems already to make that jump to Series X, and to support buying their games. If that was really what they were about, then they would be like, Halo's playable on the PlayStation 5. We would just want people to enjoy Halo.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I think, to wrap this up and not to really drag it out until we get more information from both Sony and their strategy, because we're missing a lot of information, and from Microsoft on what their actual games are going to be looking like, because we haven't seen a first-party game since Halo Infinite, and that was in December when we last saw it, and maybe we got like a small snippet after that. So this is more marketing. Like it's not about which console's better. It's about how is my console positioned in a way that may be able to sell more of my hardware than my competitor's hardware, so I can move more volumes of games or services. Because really, like, the way these manufacturers, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, really make money back is not on the hardware itself. It's on selling their games and services. They have to do that. That's how they're going to make their money back, and that's what they care about. That's their business. We've got the July 29th reveal coming up. That's going to be this week on Thursday, with a Sony follow-up supposedly in August. So we'll see about that. And hopefully we'll have finally full details on both consoles to really speak in not hypotheticals, but in more concrete information. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Love you.
Bye-bye. Love you. Bye.
See ya. Peace.
Peace. I'm gonna... yeah.